is that? Stanford Pines, be so serious. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Morgan M. Steele. I'm an author. Today we are talking about the author, and by that I mean I finally read this book after owning it for 8 years, and I'm losing my marbles, but we will get there. So, as you may have been able to tell by the that of my backdrop in various videos, I have been into Gravity Falls for a very long time. Since 2012, I would say, the year it came out. I was 12 at the time, so I was the Pines twins' age. I was the target audience, one would say, for a show like this. And I loved every second of it. I love Gravity Falls. I think it's so funny. I think the animation style is so unique compared to other cartoons of the age. I really genuinely love the characters. I love the familial bond between the Pines family, and I know I'm not the only one. I think they are great. I love all of them. I love the Pines twins. I love the Stan twins. I love all of it. I love Seuss and Wendy and all of the side characters, all of the recurring bits and gags and all of it, and the mysteries of it all, which are contained more or less in this book. So this is going to be a review of Journal 3. This is the aforementioned Journal 3. This is the book that Dipper finds within the show. This is what kicks off the entire plot. This is the book of mysteries and weird goings-on in Gravity Falls, recorded by a mysterious author. Dipper spends much of the first season trying to crack the case of just who wrote this thing, and also what binds all of it together, what is causing the weirdness in Gravity Falls, Oregon. So we're going to get into it. For those uninitiated, 1, why are you here? 2, Gravity Falls, like I said, is a Disney XD show. I believe it started on Disney Channel, or maybe the other way around. Anyway, back when Disney XD was a thing, it aired on there as well. So it's a Disney cartoon. It was created by Alex Hirsch, who was the showrunner and primary writer, as far as I know, of the show. He also voices a lot of the characters. He voices Seuss, he voices Grunkle Stan, he voices Bill Cipher, and a handful of other side characters, Fiddleford, McGucket, and so on and so forth. He voices a good chunk of the primary cast, and he's the showrunner and creator, and it ran from 2012 to 2016. It's one of my favorite cartoons of all time. I really, probably actually, it might be my favorite. I have a lot of favorite cartoons, like Teen Titans is up there, Avatar is up there, I love them all a lot, but I think Gravity Falls honestly just exists on a different level for me. So yeah, it might be my favorite cartoon ever. But anyway, great show. The show follows the misadventures of the Pines twins, Dipper and Mabel, as they move out to Oregon for the summer to stay with their estranged great-uncle Stanford Pines, who they call their Grunkle. Grunkle Stan, meaning great-uncle Stan. He is their grandfather's brother. Stan is the local con man. He runs a tourist trap called the Mystery Shack, which is full of, fake, strange artifacts that he has found over the years. And they are joined by Seuss, who is the shop's handyman, and Wendy, who is the shop's cashier, who is just too cool for all of it, basically. She's 15, I think, and Dipper is 12. Dipper and Mabel are both 12. While doing a task for Grunkle Stan out in the woods, Dipper happens upon this very book, and it kicks off his journey into exploring the strange and weird things that are occurring in and around the town of Gravity Falls, Oregon. Throughout the series, Dipper references the research in this very book to help him fight the monsters and strange things that he and his sister encounter in the town, as the research within it holds some of the answers to fighting those things and keeping them safe. If you've never seen the show, I really do recommend you watch it. It's on Disney Plus. I'm sure you could find it other places. It is worth the watch. It's very, very much worth the watch. It is one of my favorite shows ever. If you're watching this video and you haven't seen the show, there are spoilers for both, for this book and for the show. From this point forth, I'm going to try to do a spoiler-free review of this in a second here. If you've never seen the show, this is probably the point to stop watching. I think you should watch it. I think everyone should watch it. It's a very good show. And it is having something of a resurgence right now, so if you're coming into the fandom fresh, welcome, we're glad to have you. Go watch the show first. But anywho, a few months after the finale in 2016, this book was released, and for the first time it gave us a pretty full glimpse into the book. It is mostly show accurate. I know there are some things that are a little bit different in here than they appear in the show, but this is the first time we as the fans have been able to get our hands on it. It is full of clues and puzzles and information about the strange creatures around Gravity Falls, but it also serves as a backstory for the author of the book, wink wink nudge nudge. Also goes into Dipper and Mabel's adventures as they are having them. Now that we have that out of the way, we have a book to talk about. Journal 3 is a tale of temptation and curiosity. It is a tale of flying too close to the sun, of getting too close to things maybe you're not supposed to know, about giving in to urges you're not supposed to give into, and making deals with the devil. But it is also a tale of family. It's a tale of overcoming the odds and fighting together for what you believe in, and maybe just saving the world on the way there. As a basic overview of what it looks like on the inside, it is like the art style of the show, just the parchment pages, brownish black ink through most of it. It is mostly written in cursive, so Gen Alpha, I'm so sorry. This is what you're dealing with. Oh, that's a spoilery page. We'll start with the leprechaun. So this is kind of what you're getting into. This is what basically the whole book looks like. Aside from other certain parts that I'll talk about in the more spoilery section. It's an art book at its heart. It is full of, like, artwork, beautiful artwork, and writing and codes about a very, very good show. I think it's really neat to have, like, even just as like a coffee table type book, like for fans of the show. If you have like nerdy decor in your home, this could fit right in. And it really like captures the heart and aesthetic of the show. I think the way that it fleshes out the backstory of the show is really, really good. I think the way it goes into like one of our main heroes as well as the main villain of the show really like sets the tone. I think you should definitely read it after watching the show, as it like spoils basically the whole thing. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth a read, and that's kind of all I can say about it without spoilers. If you wanted an answer whether or not you should buy it, if you like the show, the answer is yes. Basically, it's good. It's a good book. On the surface level, it is a good story. It tells more of a story than I thought would be in it, personally. I honestly just thought it would be like the monsters and stuff. But it has like an overarching narrative. So if you're curious, give it a read, pick it up somewhere. I'm sure like a PDF exists of it online somewhere, but I would highly recommend like buying it, supporting the fandom, supporting the show, because that's how we get more content, is if they know that we like stuff and we're supporting it monetarily. So that's, capitalism. But yeah, you can get pretty deep into this thing. I didn't expect that. So first of all, we're going to talk about the plot. Alrighty, so surface level plot. The first time I read through it, I wasn't getting into all of the deeper stuff. I was just reading for the text, just to see what was in it. So for starters, we are introduced to the author, who does not introduce himself until later. Doesn't give us his real name. He tells us that he has 6 fingers, hence the 6 fingers on the cover. And because of this, he was bullied a lot as a child, but also as a side effect, he became obsessed with things that are strange. Things that are out of the ordinary, because he considered himself to be among them. So he set out to Gravity Falls, Oregon, to see what the deal is there, to see all the weird things that are going on, and to solve the big question that he is asking, which is his hypothesis about the overarching weirdness of the general area. Like, what is causing it, what it causes, just generally like proving his hypothesis, making a report worth publishing, and then publishing it and changing science forever as we know it. That's his quest. It's a noble quest. He's setting out on it, and that's great. I think he calls it the unifying source of weirdness or something like that. And this is all fine and well and good, but there is one thing. This author has a muse, he says. This muse comes to him in his dreams and tells him things that maybe he wouldn't figure out on his own. He tells him, he helps him like come to scientific conclusions. He helps him figure out certain things that other people wouldn't know without some help. And he feels kind of shameful about this. He knows that he can't really admit this, like, scientifically, like, no one would believe him if he said, oh, it just came from my dreams. But everything he gets from his dreams turns out to be true. Every, like, equation he tries, all of that kind of stuff, that all proves to be real when he wakes up and tries it. So, he kind of keeps this on the DL, but he has a muse. He's been working with this muse to further his research on the unifying theory of weirdness and continues to investigate the area. So he documents a lot of creatures. A lot of this is just like, let me see if I can find you some examples. Today I did this, and today I found this. And there's a whole big section on ghosts. If you'll recall from the ghost episode, we go through 10 categories of ghost. So we have a lot of that. Like I said, the leprechaun. We've got all of these things, invisible wizard, the abominable broman. So there's a lot of that. He's like looking through all these things, trying to find out what binds them all together. We get the, what does it mean? You know, he's trying to figure out all this stuff. So he has all of these little adventures. I think they're funny. There's like funny little jokes in there and stuff, but he's looking through all the weird stuff in town, and eventually his muse proposes to him the idea of a portal to the dimension of weirdness, where the author believes that all of these weird things are coming from. So he starts working on the portal, but he's gonna need help to do it. So he recruits his friend from college. His name is F. That's all we know about him. He's from the country. He's kind of a like country bumpkin kind of guy, but he's really smart. He's really good with machines, so the author recruits F, brings him in on this little venture, and the two start working on the portal. And, you know, as they're working on this, they go to the UFO crash site outside of town, the one that you see in all the pictures, picture here. They go there, they investigate the ship. The author is really tired, though. You know, they've been working a lot, he's really tired. His muse presents another idea, right? You're so tired, author. You should sleep, and while you're asleep, I will take over your body, and I'll do the work for you. You don't even have to worry about it. You'll get, like, 8 hours of sleep, and I will get all your stuff done in the meantime. And the author is like, that sounds really nice. So he shakes his muse's hand, and this is a pivotal moment. So he gets his sleep, he wakes up, all his work is done, he's well rested for the first time ever, and he's like, wow, this is really great. Thank you, Muse. I'm sure nothing bad will ever come of this, and continues work on the portal. So finally, they finish the portal, the two of them. They are planning on throwing a dummy through, just to make sure, like, everything goes okay. And F has a little slip and gets sucked into the portal. He gets pulled out, but he is up. He saw something in there, it really messed with him, he's kind of losing his mind over it, actually. And this is eventually what leads F to developing a memory gun ray to erase memories, you may remember from the show. He sees something that just, like, traumatizes him so bad that he wants to forget it. The author is like, oh, well, fine, if you don't want to work on it anymore, you can go back home. So he continues to work on the portal on his own after F leaves. Eventually discovers that his little deal with his muse was not a one-time thing. Every time he goes to sleep, he is being possessed by his muse. He's taking over his body, he's doing God knows what. The author doesn't know. And while he's asleep, his muse is etching things into his journal, all these codes that he can't read. He doesn't know what he's saying in there. And he eventually comes to the discovery that his muse is a monster. This is like one of the biggest pages in the book. This is like the infamous one. That guy right there, muse is a monster. That's the author's blood there on the page, that red stuff. So fun. But yeah, his muse is revealed to be a triangle named Bill Cipher. He is a two-dimensional being. He's a chaos entity. The author refers to him several times as the devil. So that's super fun. But yeah, it's Bill Cipher. He's trying to take over the world, and he's trying to use the author to do it. And then shortly after, the portal opens and the author disappears. We pick up after the fact with Dipper Pines. So this is the part of the book I wasn't really expecting. I did mark, so as you can see, I've got this thing dog-eared to hell and back. These are all my little tabs. The blue ones are Dipper, or like important things about Dipper later on. But he has a couple little interjections in the part that the author wrote where, like this one, he says weakness is leaf blowers when they learn about the gnomes in, I believe, episode 1. Mabel has one a little bit later, but they write in the book a little bit. This about the ghosts, like how to get rid of a category 11 is to just like get the rich girl to talk to them, which I think is really funny. Dipper takes over. He basically walks through every... My light went out. He basically walks through every single episode in the show, pretty much. There are a few that are not covered. It's like a handful of them, 3 or 4. But he talks through every single episode and just kind of talks about, like, his adventures, like how they solve things, developments. Mabel writes a few of them. Seuss writes one of them. Most of them are not really notable, but yeah, there's one I really, really liked. There is an entry that is written by Clones 3 and 4 from the Double Dipper episode. It's very funny. 3 and 4, they call themselves Tracy and Quattro. They survive, actually. They survive that episode. I don't know if a lot of people know that. There's a picture of them, like, in a tent somewhere together, but they make it. They make it out, and they write this little entry in the journal where they're planning to take over Dipper's life and, like, alternate, and one of them, like, doesn't like that the one wants to alternate, like, Saturdays or whatever. He doesn't think that's fair. It's really funny, but eventually Dipper finds them in the closet. They run off, and Dipper's like, I hope they're okay out there. Like, I think it's gonna rain later because the clone's weakness is liquid. Other than that, just kind of, like, follows along the plot of the show. I think, personally, this is kind of the weakest part of the book. I love Dipper. Obviously, I love Dipper. I'm dressed as him. He's been on my kin list, like, forever, since I was in middle school. I relate with that kid heavy. It's, you know, it's the weakest part of this book, frankly. But it's fun. It's fun to read through it. If you haven't seen the show in a while, it's a nice little refresher. Yeah, so we get to the end of that section. Stan gets arrested, and the book gets confiscated. We get this little page where the book is confiscated. Right there. He talks about Stan getting arrested and then they take the book. Oh no. So yeah, and then we pick up with the author's return. Let me show you the page before I cut the video. He looks kind of hot in that picture. Where was I? Yes. The journal gets confiscated because Stan gets arrested. The author returns. And we learn, if you have not seen the show, we learn that the author is the real Stanford Pines, the Stanford Pines that we have known this whole time. Grunkle Stan, he is actually Stanley Pines. He took up his brother's identity when his brother went missing, fell through the portal, so that he could take up his identity, live in the house, get away from his history of crime and his bad name and reputation and such, and then continue to do work on the portal to bring his brother back from the nightmare dimension. So yeah, Ford picks up writing the journal again. He goes over his niece and his nephew, great niece, great nephew, his brother, like whose brother has turned out to be, and briefly describes the other people in the shack. They pick up their research. This kind of goes through the plot of the show as well, like the parts where Ford is back, bonding with his family again. We also get, like, the backstory of what Ford was doing in these other dimensions. I think this is really interesting. He has this, like, grand adventure through many dimensions. There's a dimension where, like, he is, like, this awesome scientist and everything is cool and perfect there, but he can't stay there because if you meet your parallel self in another world, you both cease to exist. That's a thing. He meets the Oracle. She's very cool. Let me find her real quick. I think she is kind of important for one reason or another, because of the art that's with her. She has an axolotl drawn there, and we'll get into that later. Axolotls seem to be very important. Her. She. That's her. She's got, like, axolotls behind her, you can kind of see. He is kind of like hesitant at first, but he eventually warms up to the younger set of twins. He gets back in good graces with his brother, as we see in the show, and he goes on a little trip with Dipper, where Ford reveals to Dipper that Gravity Falls is a weirdness magnet. It attracts weird things, so he dumps out like a clump of jelly beans onto the floor. There's one that's like weirdly shaped, and that one rolls back towards town because they're at like the edge of town. The weird one is the one that rolls back towards Gravity Falls, so it's a magnet for weird things. That's why Ford felt drawn there. That's why all of the weird creatures are there. It's probably why the UFO crashed, like all of that kind of thing. It's just like a hot spot for weirdness. It sucks it all towards it. So that's the cause for that. We also get a very nice moment where Dipper opens up to Ford and we learn his real name. So this is like big spoilers if you're planning on reading the book, if you want that little information from the source, the only like canon source where we have it, as far as I know. Dipper's real name is Mason. Right? I mean, I feel like it fits. I feel like that's a really good name for him. It is like a society, like a secret society, like the Masons. That's like a whole thing. So it ties into the overarching theme of the show, the conspiracy of it all. But yeah, his real name is Mason. He reveals that to Ford, and he's like, you don't have to like tell anyone, it's kind of a weird name, but Ford like reassures him. He's like, no, it's a great name, but he promises not to tell anyone. So yeah, it's very, very sweet little moment between the two of them. And then finally, inevitably, Bill is released. The portal is opened. He's released on the world. We get Weird Mageddon.
Existence is upside down and I reign supreme. Welcome one and all to Weird Mageddon.
It happens off page. We don't really get into the nitty-gritty of it until it all happens, and then Dipper comes back. He tells us about the fight that happened. Stanley, Uncle Stan, gave up his memories to save the town because Bill went into his mind. They wiped his mind and they wiped Bill along with it. But Mabel, through the power of scrapbooking, is slowly working on bringing his memories back. So that's kind of where we pick up with them. Dipper tells us about his plans. He wants to start researching weird things as well. He has his own journal that he's going to start. It has a pine tree on it that he's going to fill with his own research, and he and Mabel are headed back to California at the end of the summer right after they turn 13. So Dipper signs off. Ford picks up. He tells us about his plans to go traveling with his brother. Stan is recovering. He's slowly but surely remembering things, and so they want to go sailing like they dreamed of as children. They want to board the Stano War and go and sail together and find all the weird stuff out in the ocean and on the different coasts and whatnot. So some of the things, like the journals were all burned up during the Weird Mageddon special. They explain this as Seuss found the journals in the woods, just unharmed, so the destruction of Bill got rid of some of his effects on the town, some of his weirdness. So the journals are fine. They have reappeared, even the pages that were ripped out appeared back in them. And then yeah, finally Ford reflects on his journey, on how he was naive to trust no one. He said that there are people that you can trust. You just have to find them. It's not that you need to trust no one, it's just that you need to figure out who you can trust, and he's learned that his family are those people for him. That leaves one final question for the team. What are they going to do with the journals? So they decide to chuck them in the bottomless pit, which in one of the other entries is said to either spit the stuff back out or sometimes it just disappears forever. So they decide to chuck the journals into the pit. And I'm going to read you the end passage. And so here we are at the bottomless pit, a mystery of Gravity Falls that I still have never fully solved. Based on my investigations, tossing these journals inside could land them just about anywhere. They may end up in the center of the earth, being devoured by a subterranean dinosaur, or in another dimension, or somehow in the hands of another curious young mind whose adventure has just begun. Perhaps someone who will find secrets in this book that were hidden even from me. And that brings us to you, dear reader. If you are holding this book in your hands, you hold something more than a record of the curious happenings of a town called Gravity Falls. You hold a record of one man's folly and the kindness of a family that saved him from himself. It's never too late to learn that growing old doesn't have to mean growing up. Stay curious, stay weird, stay kind, and don't let anyone ever tell you that you aren't smart or brave or worthy enough. If you have come on these adventures with us, then you are an honorary member of the Pines family, and your adventure starts today. And if anyone ever gets in your way, well, we have an entire section on curses. Have at it. For the last time, unless we meet in some distant world, this is Stanford Pines signing off. And that's it. It's the bottomless pit. Like I said, I did cry the first time. The Stay Weird got me. It got me good. Good. It's a good book. It's a great show. So, yeah, that's the plot. That's the overarching plot. We're gonna get into my thoughts now, my review. We're gonna get into my thoughts, very obviously. I love this book. I had a great time reading it. My mom walked in on me, like, decoding with my pencil, which we will get into in a moment. But she walked in on me, like, doing that, and I was like, this is so fun. It feels like I'm in high school again. Like, I had, such a good time really getting into it, getting my hands dirty. I enjoyed the read. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a great book. I remember when I was, like, first watching this show, when I was in, like, middle school, high school, Dipper would be, like, reading the journal, and I, like many others, I'm sure, was so enamored with, like, I wish I could just flip through it myself, like, pausing to, like, get really close and, like, look at all the stuff in there, all the codes and secrets and stuff, and so, having it, I think, is really, like, fulfilling of that, heals my inner child a little bit every time I think about it, like, I have the ability to just flip through it like I always wanted to, and honestly, like, I'm not sure why it took me 8 years to get around to finally reading this thing. I've had it since 2016, since it came out, and I just have not cracked it open until now. The Book of Bill coming out did something to me, and I'm very excited to have finally read it, so I've done it. I had a great time. It gave me some closure I didn't know I needed, especially like that last segment, like Ford signing off, learning Dipper's name, like all of this stuff. Like, these are questions I didn't know I still had, but it really, like, satisfies some part of me deep down, so it's very, very nice, very good. That said, like, at certain points, the flow is a little weird as a book, and it's because it's in, like, kind of a journal format, but at certain points it just, like, jumps to the next thing, and it doesn't give you, like, a June whatever, like, it just jumps, and now we're doing this, and now we're doing that, and now we're doing this. That's the only part I don't like about it, and it's the smallest thing, but sometimes, like, the flow is a little bit choppy for a book, but otherwise, I really enjoy it. I don't have any, like, major notes aside from, like, I kind of wish Dipper's section went a little bit deeper. Like, we do get a little bit of a glimpse into the episodes, but for the most part that entire section is just like, and now this episode happened, and now this episode happened, and now this episode happened, and I don't really, like, love that. Like, I wish it just went, like, just a little deeper, even unpacking more of his, like, feelings on less than a surface level, but beggars can't be choosers. I do enjoy the book in all other aspects. In terms of things I do like, I really like the relationship between Ford and Bill. I don't ship that, that's not what I'm saying. I like the twisted side of it. I like the descent into madness. I like reading Ford's journey. I like the backstory of it all, the my muse, whatever. I think all of that is really, really good. I didn't expect to get that. I just really thought it would be like a creature book, and I think that's kind of why I put it off for so long. But the lore of it all really just blew me away, so I was really excited to read about that and to really get into Ford's descent into madness. Sorry, Ford Pines. R.I.P. You would have loved Casual by Chapel Roan. So on that note, if it was just the surface level of it all, it would just be like a 4 out of 5 for me. It would be like a really good read, pretty high on my list. But that's not all. As I said, there are lots of codes in this thing. I spent, I want to say, like 5-6 hours, like, figuring out all of that stuff. So as you can see, I have many flippies.
Flip-a-dip-dip! I hate him so much.
It's hard to tell the difference between the purple and the pink ones. I do have some highlights. So as you can see, all of these little flippies, the purple ones are codes that I wanted to decipher. The pink ones are highlights. The green ones are really important things, and the blue ones, like I said, are Dipper stuff. So when Dipper was making interjections, and then important stuff about him at the back of the book, little things. Let me flip through some of my highlights here. We've got the My Muse page. This is where that starts. Oh, and the orange is the other codes. The orange is like the cipher codes, and the pink is the highlights. But Oh, I tried this. Maybe it doesn't work, but Fiddleford F, he has a Cubix cube, and it has this little, like, diagram for how to solve a Rubik's Cube, and I did try it, but maybe I was doing it wrong, because it didn't really seem to work for me. But maybe that's the trick, maybe it's not. This is important. These are all the codes that are used in the book. We'll come back to this. Oh, this one's a big one. We have a picture of Ford's favorite constellations. What the f*** is that? Stanford Pines! Be so serious! He's down bad. Oh my god. Oh, here's the clone page. That's so funny. That's the little schedule they cooked up to take over Dipper's life. I think that's so funny. I also just think it's so funny that they survive when they're out there. Godspeed, gentlemen. Oh, this one, this little crossed out section, Dipper, I see you. Talking about Pacifica Northwest, he says, she also looks kind of okay in an evening dress, I guess. And when she hugs you, she smells like champagne and flowers. And am I crazy, or was there some vibe going on? Good luck with that, sir. I know a lot of the fandom ships them. I think it's cute. Oh, this one's cool. This is, Ford's mugshot. Girl, your face is so red. Yeah, it says we're getting into the codes in a minute, but on the bottom it says that he's armed and dangerous. Those are my highlights. And, like I said, if it was just like on a surface level, the book itself, it'd be like a 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. But it's not. Like, there are so many codes in this book, as you can see, so many freaking codes in this book. It goes so much deeper than I really thought it did, and it took me a while to get it all untangled. But here we go. So I want to preface this section by saying I did not decode everything in this book. I'm sure there are things that I missed. I looked at the 3 main ciphers that we use as Gravity Falls fans. We have the Caesarean cipher, which is when you take the alphabet and you shift it one way or the other. So the one that Gravity Falls uses the most is the +3 cipher, which means that when you're coding it, an A becomes the letter D. So you're adding 3 letters onto whatever letter you're dealing with. This is my little note card that I was using. This is, you can see the very faint markings of my pencil there. That's how I was decoding it. So I kind of did this wrong. I should have done it the other way, but the letter on the bottom corresponds to the letter on the top. I should have done that the other way. But yeah, so that's the Caesar cipher. That's the main one that's in this book. There's also the @bash cipher, which is used sometimes in the end credit puzzles. It wasn't really in the book, as far as I could tell, but @bash is when the letter A equals the letter Z, and backwards. So it's, the alphabet forward is the alphabet backwards. That's @bash. And then the other one that the show uses just a little bit near the end, I think, is the A1Z26, which is basically the alphabet changed into letters. So that one's really, really super straightforward. And then we also get a language in this called 40s, which, oh, this one's important too. So this is the other one. This is Billy's. This is the one that is in the book. They give you the wheel at the end so you can do it yourself, correspond all the letters. But there's also 40s, which a group of very smart fans figured out based on some puzzles that they had already solved, and so they were able to like reverse engineer which letter is which symbol. But there's the portion of the book, the codes page, where there's a message there that says, I call this one 40s. Silly man naming his language after himself. What a nerd. Yeah, so those are all in the book. So that's how the codes work. Technically, I could have looked this all up on Reddit. It's all been done before, but I wanted to get my hands dirty, so I got a notebook, translated all this stuff, and got into it. So, like I said, the most prominent of all of them is the Caesar cipher. These are typically like margin notes that Ford leaves where he wants a little more privacy on it, whatever it is. Most of them are just little, like I said, little asides. There is one little bit of lore that I really loved that was about him and Stanley hunting for the Jersey Devil as kids, and that his parents like didn't believe that they had found anything. I thought that was cute. There is a little reference to the Casper movie on the ghost page where he talks about how creepy it is that the ghost says, "Can I keep you?" Horrifying.
Cat, can I keep you?
Which is so funny. Little stuff like that. There's a bunch of them on the diagram page. So let me pull that up. This one. So this is 40s, this big one here. The little ones, all these little cursive bits, those are all Caesar cipher. So they are kind of hard to read sometimes for like your handwriting. The Q's and the G's look very, very similar. For those of you who don't write in cursive, a Q, I have no card. We have the technology, I can show you. That's what they're supposed to look like. They're supposed to be like relatively, they're opposites. But the Q's in this are like super hard to, like the tail is just really squiggly right up next to it. And then the Z's I had trouble with, his capital Z's. They look like L's a little bit. Because when you do a capital Z in cursive, typically it looks like that. And then an L will look like that. The Z is the first one, the L is the second one. And so there is like quite a difference, but with Ford's, when he does his Z's, they have like a loopy on the bottom as well. Like, sir, what am I supposed to do with this? That's what that's what he draws his Z's like, and that's what the L looks like, and that's what the Z is supposed to look like. So yeah. It was hard at times. I had to like figure out what I was looking at. Yeah, so the diagram page has a lot of notes on it. It's mostly just throwaway jokes. One of them is charge the Klux capacitor, which is a Back to the Future reference, a flux capacitor, but the letters switched around. And then there was one about security code Emmerich, E-M-M-E-R-I-C-H. I tried that on the Bill website. It didn't seem to do anything, so just so you know. There's a note about the spaceship being attracted to Gravity Falls because it's a weirdness magnet, and maybe that's why it crashed there if it had like anomalies on board. And then there was one really cute one about Mabel. He said that she has the famous Pines hair curls. So I thought that was really cute as well. And then in 40s, we have, it's a little more personal typically when he's writing in 40s. It had, like the Muse is a Monster page is basically all in 40s. Yeah, all of this. And he's very angsty about it as well. It's like, interdimensional chess is no fun when you're the pawn. If Icarus could see me now, like that kind of stuff. So it seems to be like the stuff he's like really private about, like he will write in 40s just because it's like harder to decode. Yeah, and then the long one on the diagram page that I showed you earlier, I have the translation here. I think it's very funny. He says, the portal when completed will open a gateway to infinite new worlds and herald a new era in mankind's understanding of the universe. Plus, it will probably get girls to start talking to me finally. Ford, you're busy with a triangle. I don't think you have time for girls. Yeah, and then the mugshot that I showed you, armed and dangerous. Armed and dangerous. There's also a little note there as well that says Rick was here, which is a nod to Rick and Morty. I don't want to get into it too much, but Alex Hirsch and that show creator were at one point friends. I don't know how that stands now with all of the allegations and whatnot, but they had, little Easter eggs going back and forth with their shows. So that is also there. I know one of you will mention it if I don't, so. And then finally, the one that they do give us the direct translation for within the book, we have Bill-ese. This is Bill writing. So this is when Ford signed over the rights to his body to Bill. They shook on it. These are the things that Bill is writing in the book with Ford's hand. So they're a little more sinister. A lot of them are talking about his plot to rule over the world, to so chaos. Basically his motivation is to rewrite the rules of reality. He doesn't think that, you know, it's fair that everything has to be one way. Like, why does the cause come after, or why does the effect come after the cause? Like, that kind of thing. Just really rewriting the rules of reality. He's like, well, who asked for it to be that way? And he wants to take over. Yeah, they're kind of ominous. They are all throughout the book. One of them is, I've been inside your mind, Sixer. I know your secrets. Sixer is Ford, because of the 6 fingers. We get some lore about the portal. He's been trying to have this thing constructed for hundreds of years. He tried to have the local tribe build it for him, and it didn't go so well. Ended in fire and panic. But yeah, and then we also, it's revealed to us why Fiddleford went crazy when he peeked in the portal, when he slipped inside. He saw Bill remove his exoskeleton to eat, so fair enough. I feel like I would also be fairly traumatized by that. There's one after they make their deal, Bill says, "Thanks for letting me borrow your body, Sixer. Enjoy the mystery bruises," which is so crazy. Yeah, and then also in these codes there are letters, so most of them are written in like the orangey brown ink. There are certain letters that are written in purple instead, and if you string all of these letters together you get curse the axolotl, all the conspiracies are true. That's like the message that is underlaid throughout there. So that's why I think the Oracle is significant, because she has an axolotl with her. But yeah, that's basically Journal 3. There is a letter from Blendon that I did not translate because it's 1, long as 2, it's a, what is it, a vignette cipher or something like that? I'll put the word here. Which is where you use a code to translate something, and it's a very long, difficult process, and I did not want to do it, frankly. So the code for that is Pines. It's a long one. I didn't do it. It's just some lore about Blendon and like what happened when he got back to the future and then he got stuck in the past, like that whole thing. Like, it's like Back to the Future 3, kind of. But yeah, give that a shot if you want to translate something, if you want to have a little fun. But yeah, it's been quite a journey reading this book. This has been my first real read of the year. It is August, unfortunately. I really have not read anything this year. It's so sad. Yeah, it got me out of a pretty decent reading slump. I have a new fervor for reading again, and I'm very excited to read some other stuff this year before the year ends. I did not expect the journey this would take me on. I laughed, I cried, I had a good little time, I solved some puzzles, and that's all we can really ask for as Gravity Falls fans, you know? I never thought it would lead me here, but I had a great time doing it. I hope you do too. I hope you check out the book. You really should. It's a fun time. And it's something I've really loved as a kid. I'm really glad that now, like, as an adult, I'm 24, that this is coming back in a major way, that, like, there's a new generation of fans that are latching onto this thing for one reason or another. It really makes me happy to see it. It really makes me happy to see people latch on to something new. And something I've loved for so long. I don't know if there's ever gonna be, like, a sequel. I'm not holding my breath. I think Alex Hirsch said what he wanted to say about it. He had his show, it completed in a very, like, wholesome and fulfilling way. And I think, you know, anytime you open yourself up to a reboot beyond that, you kind of risk, like, ruining that perfect ending. But I think, you know, there are ways that the fandom lives on. The fandom lives on through this. The fandom lives on through other things. And then the Book of Bill just came out. So, you know, we move. There are other ventures that we have, and you know, maybe someday if there is a sequel show or a movie or whatever, I'll be here talking about it. I would love to. Oh my god, he's right behind me, isn't he? Bum bum. I honestly, personally, my desired outcome for all of this is like a series where Dipper and Mabel are in college. Like, I would love a miniseries, or even just like one season, 22 episodes. I would love to see Dipper and Mabel at, like, college age, like, solving mysteries together. I think that would be so fun. I think there's so much you can do with that. I would love a Stans spin-off with the Grunkles, like, exploring together. You could get into their backstory, and, you know, currently it could be like a then and now type show. I feel like there's a lot of options for continuation, but I'm not holding my breath for it. I'm not one of those people that's, like, pushing. Like, I understand if there's no more. I'm happy with what we got. I'm grateful for the ride. I don't need any more than that, but it would be nice to have some, perhaps. I'm just saying. For now, this is Morgan M. Steele signing off. Take your meds, drink your water, stay weird, and I'll see you whenever.